Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you for sacrificing your lunchtime to come and spend a few minutes and share some thoughts about how we have been reinventing Google every day for the past couple of years. It's my first year anniversary as the leader of Google France, and I was very happy to celebrate it with all of you today. With still more than ever, the conviction that everything that is happening at VivaTech is about how we build this ecosystem. How do we have entrepreneurs, tech companies, and everybody in the ecosystem working together to define what we want this innovation to be for. So before we get started, I think just a couple of words on the digital transformation that everybody is talking about today more than ever. The digital transformation, like all revolution, and we know it well in France, revolutions are made by people, is happening with the different energy that are happening. But in France, we really have a paradox. We have a paradox because we have French people that are ahead in terms of using technology, in terms of mobile phone usage. 80% of the French people buy goods online and use every day the technology. We have one of the biggest adoption of mobile phones. But on the other side, when we look at a lot of the companies, it took us more time. We have been thinking a lot of how we adopt this technology, and when we look at the situation, we are not at the same level. I think the last survey from the European Union suggested that France was only the 16th country in terms of adoption of our technology. So we really have this paradox, and the absolute conviction that the only way to accelerate is about building the right skill, is about better understanding what are the opportunities, is about making sure we remove the fear and we replace them by the excitement of the opportunity if we collectively capture all of them. On the side of Google, what we have been doing there is really invest a lot on training. We have been in 100 towns over the past couple of months to train 70,000 people, and we have the conviction that this is really what will accelerate in the next couple of years. So yes, the digital transformation, but one thing that we talk less about is the fact that Google is about to celebrate its 20 years anniversary. Quand on aime, on a toujours 20 ans, we say in France, and we hope it will continue to be the beginning of a long love story. But within the past 20 years, we already have seen a number of challenge and transformation. Think about the creation of Google. Google was created in 1998, 19 years ago. And at the beginning, there was no business model. You still, if you go to Palo Alto, meet some people late at night in bars who thought that in 1998, Google was a wonderful company, but would never make any money, there would be no business model, and that was really the challenge at the time. It's only in 2002, with the adoption of AdWords as an advertising solution, that Google moved from the great search engine to also a company with a specific business model. And as you can see, it all started with an idea, with responding to a specific need of the users, but the business model only came after. And during the years 2000, Google was incredibly successful in seeing an acceleration and adoption of the solution and more revenue through the solution we had with AdWords. But then come the end of the 2000, early 2010, and we see an incredible adoption of mobile. And I thought I was just going to share a quick video showing this moment and what changed with mobile. So I think this really captures one of the main principles of the internet, and that was really made possible with the adoption of mobile. It's the ability for anyone in the world, everywhere, to have access to any information at any time, which was really the incredible transformation that we saw with the full adoption of mobile devices and access to this information. But on the business side, obviously, it was a big challenge. Google had a wonderful business model where you had ads on the right-hand side with blue lines and the other search result on the left. And suddenly, with the adoption of mobile device, the question came. It was 1 or 2% of the query. Is it going to increase significantly? In France, last September, we celebrated the fact that more than 50% of queries happening are now on mobile devices. So really an incredibly fast transition and transformation, and a huge challenge for the business model that we had to completely reinvent to adapt to mobile devices. So overnight, in this very short amount of time, Google had to transform dramatically to adapt to the usage of mobile devices. And here we are in 2018. And for the past couple of months, what we have seen is, in the US, if you go on the mobile app, we have now more than 20% of the queries that are happening through voices. So again, a complete transformation in the way users engage about finding the right information at the right time. You move from having it and read it on the mobile devices to speaking with, OK, Google, and having a recommendation and answer. And this also speaks to the incredible opportunity and the transformation made possible by machine learning and AI. Every time I start with a 3-hour discussion on machine learning and AI, I lose half of the audience. So again, I thought what I was going to do is maybe share some of the example of how machine learning has been really re-engineering a number of solutions, looking at specifically what has happened in France over the past couple of months in the area of culture. If we can play the video.
At the Google Arts and Culture Lab, we asked ourselves a simple question. What if we could explore centuries' worth of art, history and heritage using the latest technology? And that's what we've been experimenting with at the lab.
Machine learning is so exciting. I mean, there is so many things you can do when a computer, when a software starts understanding what is inside the content.
Art Selfie allow you to connect with artworks in a very personal way. You just take a selfie, and machine learning algorithms try to look within tens of thousands of artworks to see if there is one that looks just like you. The worldwide response was phenomenal as people starting to share their matches and talk about them. Tens of millions of selfies were taken and matched to artworks.
Life magazine is one of the most iconic publications in history. Life Tags is an experiment that organises Life magazine's archives into an interactive encyclopedia.
Art Palette is an experiment to play with colors, so everyone can create a palette of color and get in return artworks that match this palette. We hope Art Palette can be great inspiration for designers, for artists, because it's able to relate palette of colors with artworks.
Our goal is to open new pathways to explore within arts and culture and see how modern technology can be applied to further empower artists, institutions, and audiences.
You can see a couple of those experiments that were made by machine learning. Isn't it extraordinary? The example of Life magazine, we're talking about having 4 or 5 million of pictures that were there on a drive, incredibly difficult to discover. And in a couple of hours with machine learning, the machine is able to put a name in front of the different part of the pictures. And suddenly, you're able to search for any picture with a hat, with a horse, with a boat, and those specifics. So really huge change when it comes to discovery. And talking about discovery, what we saw with the selfie that you saw and the ability to find within the millions of pieces of art who you look like. more than 80 million selfies were taken over the past couple of months. It means that 80 million people were exposed to a piece of art, heard about a museum and went to visit and kind of build this connection. So again, this is really speaking about how machine learning is having an impact in every step of the organization, on the top line, on the bottom line, on the discovery side, on the preservation side, and it's coming up with new business model, but at the end is really helping and just putting people in contact, and it's just facilitating. And machine learning, as I was talking about, is specifically really the strength behind what we are saying when it comes to the utilization of the voice and really seeing the voice as a new revolution. Because as, again, for the third time since the creation of Google in the past 20 years, we have to completely reinvent our business model. The way we were showing ads on the mobile devices and written will have to be completely reinvented over the next couple of years as we move toward voice and different type of usage. So every time, continue to be incredibly close to following the users, following what is enabled by technology, and then reinvent the business model and not be afraid of embracing this change. So the question that you asked me at the beginning was just how is Google facing with these changes and this transformation that impact all of us on a daily basis? And I could, of course, continue to speak a lot about technology, about machine learning, which are absolutely critical part of the success of the transformation. But I think there is something as important, even maybe more important than the technology, which is really the role of the people in the organization to embrace these changes. And there are really three key areas that I can think of at Google over the past 20 years that have been absolutely critical for the success of Google and this reinvention. The first one is how you think about the organization. For many companies, reorganizing is a big part of what we are trying to understand where we put different people to adapt to the organization. I think one of the first reorganizations that happened more than 3,000 years ago when some villages in Greece, in the Peloponnese, started to have some chariots where they had some warriors being pulled on these chariots. And by seeing that, they realized that the skills needed to drive this chariot was getting a lot more complex. And for the first time, they made the decision to mutualize their strength and have some people whose full job is going to be to pilot this carriage, build the skills to be better at that, and protect the city. As a result of that, and by protecting them and making this incredible decision 3,000 years ago, it enabled philosophy, art, theater, and everything we saw 2,500 years ago in Greece in so many different areas. So the impact of this organization change really had a huge impact in the society and enabled so many other parts. And I think the conviction is, again, the level of complexity of what we are saying with machine learning, the opportunity for each of your organization to bring together all the data that you have on your audience, on the usage, and what's happening online and offline is an incredible amount of data, and the skills of the people you will need to make this decision is critical, and the idea of what you mutualize and how you think of adopting this tech with the right people is absolutely critical. I remember vividly my first job at L'Oréal was just having an Excel sheet and doing VLOOKUP with a couple of 100 lines of numbers to understand the audience at the time. Now, the person doing this is probably have access to so much more data and have completely different skills. So the subject of organization, I think, is the first one, and it's something we keep thinking about to make sure we mutualize the right team at the right pace to move fast. The second aspect, and I think really speaks to what Tech for Good is about diversity. I think what's unique about what we are doing there, and you were talking about some of the new innovation we have been talking about, is there is no playbook. A lot of the rules are being created. A lot of the rules are beyond what's happening at the specific countries. It's a global internet with a lot of this change so that we have to deal with. And I think the only way for all of us to collectively find the answer The only way to build a world where the solution we bring are going to bring everybody together is about this confrontation of ideas. It's about the diversity of point of view where we have this debate. And this is something, again, incredibly specific to the Google organization, where we have a lot of diverse teams working together, disagreeing, and accepting this confrontation with the conviction that this diversity at every single level is really critical to find the solutions that are going to be as inclusive as possible and have a sustainable vision of tech, as it has been discussed with the vision of Tech for Good for the past couple of days. And this is true for hiring, this is true for managing performance, and this is true for the development to make sure that we continue to have this incredible diversity. The third element is about the culture, and going back to what I was saying, it's about making sure that the technological skill that we expect from the people we work with are important as the leadership skills, and we need to hold each other accountable for these leadership skills. At Google, every year, every single people manager is being assessed on also its leadership quality, on making sure that the team we manage, with the incredible complexity of the changes that are happening, understand what we are trying to achieve and how we bring them together. It's also about how you think of the organization with flat structure that give a lot of autonomy to the people on the ground seeing what's happening. So on one hand, we have more centralization with these insights that help us with the right information. On the other hand, we really want to make sure that we have teams with the right level of autonomy who are able to see what's happening, react incredibly quickly to make sure that they make the right decision. And this speaks also to the development of skills of the people that we have to build this culture. And again, if I look back at what Google has been doing over the past 20 years, how we have been reinventing ourselves in this period of change, I think those three areas about building the right organization, about having this diversity of point of view, and about investing on the culture have been absolutely critical to prepare the organization and navigate through these changes. And I think to finish, I think this is really what's unique about this Tech for Good message and why we were so excited to participate today, with the conviction that it's the quality of the debate, the engagement of the different groups that are being represented today that will shape the discussion, and the absolute conviction that by investing in this organization, investing in this culture of openness, we are going together to shape innovation that will continue to have a positive impact for France, for Europe, and technology in general. Thank you very much.